You think you're in control of your life. You're not. Every decision you believe is yours was placed there by someone who benefits from you making it. And the most controlled people are always the ones who insist they're free. This isn't conspiracy. This is mechanism. The reason you don't see the control is because it doesn't feel like control. It feels like preference. It feels like choice. It feels like you. That's not an accident. That's engineering. And once you understand how it works, you'll see it everywhere. You'll see it in your opinions. You'll see it in your desires. You'll see it in the things you think make you different. This video won't free you. Nothing will. But at least you'll stop pretending you were ever free to begin with. You have opinions. Strong ones. You'll defend them. You'll argue for them. You'll cut people out of your life over them. But here's what you never ask. Where did they come from? Not why you believe them, where they were installed. Because opinions don't emerge from nothing. They're not born in isolation. They arrive through repetition, through authority, through social cost. You believe what the people around you believe because disagreement has a price. And you learned early that paying that price wasn't worth it. So you adjusted, quietly, without realizing. You adopted the beliefs that kept you safe. You called them your values. The mechanism is simple. When you hear something repeated by enough people, your brain stops evaluating it. It becomes assumed. It becomes background. It becomes the thing you defend without knowing why. This is how you were trained. Not in one moment, over years. Every time you agreed to avoid conflict. Every time you laughed at a joke you didn't find funny. Every time you stayed silent because speaking would have made you visible. You weren't choosing peace. You were choosing obedience. And obedience, repeated long enough, becomes identity. You don't hold your opinions. Your opinions hold you. They tell you who you are. They tell you who to trust. They tell you who to hate. And none of it was yours. You want things. Specific things, a certain kind of success, a certain kind of body, a certain kind of life, and you've never once questioned why those are the things you want. You assume wanting is natural, that desire comes from inside, that your goals are your own. They're not. They're assigned. You didn't decide to want what you want. You were shown it, repeatedly, until wanting it felt like breathing. Here's how the mechanism works. Desire is installed through association. You see something linked with status, with approval, with admiration. Your brain logs it, not consciously, automatically, and over time, you begin wanting it, not because it would make you happy, but because it would make you seen, because it would make you safe, because having it would signal that you belong. This is the trick. You're not chasing fulfillment, you're chasing position. And position is always defined by someone else. The person who decides what's desirable controls what you pursue. They don't need to force you, they just need to make you want. And you'll do the rest. You'll sacrifice time, you'll sacrifice health, you'll sacrifice relationships, all for something you never actually chose. You think ambition makes you independent. It doesn't. Ambition, when implanted, makes you useful. It makes you work for goals that benefit someone else's system. And you'll call it drive. You'll call it purpose. You'll never call it what it is. Programming. You feel things strongly. Anger, fear, disgust. And you trust those feelings. You assume they're real. You assume they're telling you something true. They're not. They're telling you something useful to whoever triggered them. Emotion is the fastest bypass of logic. When you feel something, you stop thinking, you react, and reaction is predictable. That's why your emotions are being managed, not suppressed, directed. You're shown things designed to make you feel before you can think. Outrage, anxiety, envy, shame. Each emotion serves a purpose. Outrage keeps you engaged. Anxiety keeps you consuming. Envy keeps you spending. Shame keeps you compliant. None of it is accidental, it's architecture. And you walk through it every day, believing your feelings are authentic. They're not. They're triggered by systems that know exactly which buttons to push. And the worst part, you defend your emotions. You treat them as proof of who you are. You say things like, "I can't help how I feel." And you're right, you can't. Because you never learned how the feelings got there in the first place. You have a sense of self, a story you tell about who you are, your personality, your preferences, your authentic self. Except none of it is authentic. All of it was assembled, piece by piece, from the reactions of others. Here's what you don't remember. Every part of your identity was once tested. You tried something. You watched for response. If you were rewarded, you kept it. If you were punished, you dropped it. Over years, you became the version of yourself that got the most approval, the most safety, the least friction. You didn't discover yourself. You negotiated yourself with parents, with teachers, with peers, with every authority figure who had power over your survival. And now you think this negotiated self is real. You think it's the true you. It's not. It's the allowed you, the version that was permitted to exist, the version that didn't threaten anyone with power over you. You didn't choose your identity. You were shaped into it. And shaping only works when you don't notice. So you forgot. You forgot every time you adjusted, every time you dimmed, every time you swallowed a piece of yourself to stay acceptable. Now you walk around wearing a costume, and you call it authenticity. You think you resist. You think you see through it. You think being aware makes you different. It doesn't. Rebellion has been accounted for. Here's what you don't understand. The system doesn't fear resistance. It absorbs it. Every counterculture becomes a market segment. Every act of defiance becomes a brand. Your rejection of control is controlled. Your criticism of the system is part of the system. You were given the language to rebel. You were given the aesthetics. You were given the identity of someone who doesn't conform. And you bought it, literally. You purchased your rebellion from the same structures you claim to reject. The clothes, the media, the ideologies, all of it packaged, all of it sold, all of it designed to make you feel free while keeping you contained. True resistance would mean becoming invisible, becoming unpredictable, becoming someone no system can categorize or sell to. But you don't want that. You want to be seen as a rebel. You want credit for your defiance. And the moment you want credit, you've already been captured. Let's add this up. Your opinions were installed. Your desires were manufactured. Your emotions are triggered on schedule. Your identity was shaped by permission, and your resistance was prepackaged and sold back to you. What's left? What part of you hasn't been touched? You can't answer that, because you don't know, and you'll never know, because knowing would require separating yourself from every influence that ever shaped you. And those influences are you. There's no original self hiding underneath. There's no real version waiting to be discovered. There's just the product of 1,000 invisible hands, each one pushing you toward something that benefits them. You're not a person, you're a pattern, a predictable set of responses, a consumer who thinks he chooses, a follower who thinks she leads, a controlled subject who insists on his freedom. And the insistence is the final layer of control. Because as long as you believe you're free, you'll never look for the strings. You'll never notice the hands. You'll walk in the direction you were pointed and call it your path. Here's where this ends. Not with an answer, not with a solution, not with some formula for becoming ungovernable, because that doesn't exist. And anyone offering it is just running another control mechanism. You watched this video because something in you suspected it was true. That suspicion won't change anything. You'll close this tab. You'll scroll to the next thing. You'll feel something. Maybe discomfort, maybe recognition, and then you'll forget. Because forgetting is easier. Because remembering means sitting with the fact that you've never made a free choice in your life. Not one. And you never will. You'll go back to your opinions, your desires, your emotions, your identity, and you'll call them yours. Because the alternative is too much. The alternative is looking in the mirror and seeing nothing but instructions. A script you didn't write, being read by a voice you think is you. That's not a tragedy. That's just how it works. And now you know. Not that knowing changes anything, it never does.